Right, hi guys. Hope you both well.
Hi.
Hi. I'm going to begin by asking. I'll come to you first, Sarah. I mean, when you first read the scripts for a series like that, do you go on that same journey that we go on when we watch it? Because I mean, every kind of episode ends, isn't it? And then you're just kind of desperate to know what's going to happen next. And are you privy to the whole series right from the start, or do you have to wait as well till the next script comes in?
Well, the thing with this particular one is, no, I didn't have the whole script, but obviously there's a book, so I read the book, so I knew what happened. But no, I try and read, when I get scripts through, I try and read them as an audience member would read them. It's very tempting as an actor to get a script through and just look at your part and go, well, let me just flick through really quickly and just see where I go and how much I've got and am I in that. And so I've really tried over the years to not do that and just sit down and read it as if I was an audience member and as if I was watching it. And with this particular script, I did that and I loved it. I really enjoyed reading it. I preferred reading the scripts to the book, really. I like what they'd done with the characters. They'd mixed them up a little bit, made a bit more of certain characters, not so much of different other characters. Yeah, that's how I approach scripts, really. But no, we didn't have all the scripts. And it's very rare these days that as an actor that you do get all the scripts. They sort of come as you've started. They come in dribs and drabs. But I think we had episodes 1 to 3, so I think.
Yeah, James, I was just speaking to Richard was saying that having kind of Harlan around as the kind of as a producer on this was helpful, because if there's any questions you want to kind of know, anything you want to kind of learn about the character, having the man who created the character in and around the place was quite useful. Did you ever seek to speak to Harlan to kind of help when crafting the character?
Well, I spoke to him a good bit before I came to the job quite late. I mean, late-ish, I think. I don't really know. But the great shame was that I think when Harlan has done his other shows, he's always been around a lot. But because of the situation we were in, he wasn't there. But no, certainly I spoke to him a lot beforehand. And what was great about him was that I didn't know Harlan. I was actually unfamiliar with his work. I'm the only person in the world. Apart Sarah and I were the only two people in the world who were unfamiliar with his work. But obviously, when I got the job, when I read the scripts, I loved the character, but I spoke to him for a long time on the phone before I accepted it. And he really, what was wonderful was that he said, look, this is the character. This is the world he's in. This is the story. But in a sense, I want you to bring a lot of what you think to it. So the minute someone trusts you like that, it's really very kind of heartwarming and encouraging. But yes, certainly I am a very collaborative actor. I mean, I'm someone who works very closely with directors, which is why having Daniel O'Hara as a director was so important to me, because I've worked with him before on Lucky Man, and he's just got a real accessible intelligence. He has got a sophisticated and evolved kind of understanding of emotion, but he's very straightforward and makes things quite simple to understand. So, and obviously Harlan would be there, and at read-throughs, Harlan you'd have an opportunity virtually to kind of have a chat with him. But it was the fact that he sort of trusted me, in a sense, means that you then that's like saying you're allowed to jump off whatever cliff you want to, and that's one of the best things a producer or writer or director or anyone can give you, is say, listen, you jump, and we're happy for you to jump.
I was going to ask, when playing a detective like this, do you find that you do any research into actual detectives, or is this kind of creation so ingrained into the kind of fabric of cinematic storytelling that your reference points are actually, they're not really reality, but more other films and kind of TV shows?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, actually. I mean, and I've played plenty of detectives, So I think certainly in the past, I think whatever it is you're doing, be it detective or anything, I think what levels, or I certainly tend to know what levels of research to do. I mean, when I played a detective 4 years ago, Tommy Murphy, as that show got darker and darker, I spent a lot of time with a former undercover policeman, and he was invaluable because he had kind of walked a very dangerous and fine line in the work that he did. With this, not as much, although we did have a fabulous police kind of consultant on set, who with me was brilliant in terms of authenticity. Because authenticity, even in a thriller like this, even in a kind of a fictional thriller like this, you still have to, there still has to be believability and credibility. And she was just wonderful in that kind of Jed and Curio type way of just being really very, very specific in terms of when she would notice that something wasn't right, wasn't professionally right. So to marry that, to know you've got the sense of that authenticity, to know you've got someone that you can rely on, be it a policeman, be it to marry that with then your own interpretation of a character who is also kind of falling in love again, who's going through all the kind of human things that we sometimes forget that police men do, was, I think, where it was successful.
I said you were talking before about you maybe only getting a few kind of scripts at a time, but how are you with kind of like waiting to discuss with audiences? Because even when I've seen something, if I've been privy to watching like 2 or 3 episodes of a series, I find it so hard not to just talk about it to everyone and anyone that will listen to me. But obviously sometimes I've seen it in advance and it's, embargoed and stuff like that. How is it being in something that has so many twists and turns and is a sort of series or a show that does keep people guessing? Do you ever struggle to not speak to the family and friends about it? Or are you quite good at kind of keeping all your secrets?
I'm quite good at it, I think. I mean, the thing is that by the time people want to talk about it, as an actor, you're usually onto your next job. So you're busy, sort of, you're into something else, and then you start doing publicity and press for a show that you were doing 6 months ago. So more often than not, you kind of have to sit down for an interview and go, Christ, what was the character called again?
Absolutely.
Because I've, like Jimmy's just been doing another character. I've just been in Cardiff doing another show, playing a completely different part. So in actual fact, it's quite easy because you come back into the interview process just sort of remembering and learning about the character as you did when it was brand new. So you kind of, all the nuance and the nooks and crannies that you're probably not allowed to talk about anyway, you can't remember.
But also what's interesting is it's almost often that the interviewer reminds you of the character. It's like, so I'll be like, I'll get asked some questions and I'll go, oh, it's brilliant, that's right, that's what happened.
That's completely, it's so true. I can't tell you how true that is. Honestly, before sitting down to talk to you guys, I kind of went, I better just have a little read up because,
Me too.
I can't remember. We're getting old. We can't remember what we were doing 6 months ago.
Is there something quite nice you both doing, like a limited series like this? Because I always wonder sometimes when actors sign up to a TV show, they can find themselves in that show for like 7-8 years, and it can be all they do sometimes for that time. And look, that can be a great thing. Having that kind of regular work and having great characters over years is a great thing to, I'm sure, for actors to get their teeth into. But
I mean, again, I think that's really astute. There's nothing. I suppose one of the reasons if a show does go to 4 or 5 seasons, it's because it's pretty good. But I think with that, I think sometimes, with the regularity of the same character, I think that can be challenging at times. It can also be wonderful, because that character can still be evolving, the worlds can still be evolving, and certainly Sarah and I have done plenty of that over the years repeat shows. But no, what was great about this was that. I mean, of course, as you're doing it, there's a bit of you thinks, oh God, I wish there was another series of this, because it's like kind of like it's it provides a lot of sort of security and all that, and also it was fun. But no, there was something lovely about, particularly I think for us too, Sarah. I mean, I don't mean to speak out of turn, but because of the resolution, because of the journey of our 2 characters, and the fact that they haven't seen each other in years, and then they've got, say, 6-7 weeks to establish this extraordinary story, to really, the challenge of in those 6 weeks, really, because it's an 8-week show, but I suppose they've got 6 weeks, 6 episodes, to really become relevant and important to an audience, but also to ourselves as actors and to those characters. I mean, it was, and for it to meet a resolution, whatever that resolution might be, I think it was very satisfying. And, it's something I'll really remember. It's quite lasting.
definitely. I think, like you said, there's pros and cons to being in a long running series. If a series goes good, it's lovely to have that security. And and as an actor, when you come back, there's always something that you can rediscover about a character or something new. But there has to be a certain amount of discipline as an actor to say, I've reached the end of the journey with this character. And that can be very difficult because you go, well, yes, I've reached the end of the journey with this character, but have I financially reached the end? And that's when you kind of have to go, no, this is I have to stop playing this character now, and I've got to take a risk and move on and do something else. And when you're in a serial like this, like Stay Close, you don't have that choice. You've got 8 episodes to do this journey, and you make the most of it, and it's terrific fun.
Well, talking of coming to an end, this interview has sadly come to an end as well because I'm out of time. But thank you so much for.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey,